Please forgive me. I have all my syllabus work, all my stuff in my windowsills, my laptop, my lip balm, all of that stuff. Because I was getting myself set up. It's early in the morning, and I was getting myself set up to go and do my pedicures, and not only that, save myself some money and do my nails because my nails have been breaking. They've been getting stronger since I've been taking collagen peptides, and that which has been doing wonders for me. Um, which I had stopped taking collagen for a minute because of a lot of the breakouts because I was taking out like a lot of vitamins because I was growing out my hair. I was doing a lot of stuff just trying to get myself healthier and getting really like revitalized, having more energy and things like that. So I had stopped for a minute taking the collagen pills because um they would literally break me out, and I tried to balance it with like zinc and other things like you do with your multivitamins and biotin and stuff like that. I know with biotin, like especially when I was taking the hardcore with like biotin and stuff and started implementing that in my diet and putting it actually on my hair and stuff so it can accelerate the growth, I started getting a lot of breakouts. And not only breakouts, I was getting like these dark pungent like circles with hair. I mean, my face was getting hair. It was crazy, like weird. Um, but so that's why I had the zinc or whatever. But I had stopped taking collagen, started putting the peptides in or whatever. Um, so I stopped taking collagen. I just started taking collagen peptides, and it hasn't given me any like horrible side effects. Actually, I can feel it intensely. Like a lot of people talk about it and they say that they don't taste the taste of collagen peptides. I believe that that is a lie because when I put it in my water, I can taste it. Okay, I don't know what's going on with people. I tried the vegan one, the regular one that is made out of animal like fat proteins or whatever. Uh, I still taste it. It's not like a horrible taste, but it's definitely a mild, funky kind of taste. So, but anywho, I did not come on here to talk about my freaking vitamin life. I did not at all, but it just slipped that way. But anywho, I wanted to talk about um the grass is greener. The grass always seems greener on the other side, and that's what I'm gonna entitle this uh visual and verbal document. Okay, um, it's so funny. I had just got finished. This was earlier this week. I had got off of work because I've been working a couple of. Usually I work two jobs. Usually I work two jobs, and the reason why I work two jobs is one job that I work. You know, I get paid for it. I work part time, but it's something that I just love to do. You know, I found my passion in it. A lot of things I found. You know, I find really happy in doing it. The other one was a job that I needed to make ends meet, but after I did start making ends meet, it was something that um connected me to other avenues. So I still keep both of the jobs, you know. So and then it's the holiday season, so I always both sides always pick up during this time because when you're dealing with social services, you're dealing with helping people, and most of the time people have critical, you know, crises in like the summer times, um right before spring, Christmas time, because it's holiday season, you know, around between like October, December, um, Super Bowl, um, Super Bowl time, because that's when like domestic violence usually happen, or a lot of disagreements, things like that. Um, so yeah, so I'm always kind of busy during that time, and people want to buy things, they want to shop. So, in my other jobs, I'm gonna have to do a lot of things, carry people out. Um, they want to go out and see things. It's just a lot of things to do. So I had just got off from my second job. I had worked both jobs during the day and during the evening, and it turned out that I had to stay over for my second job all the way until the morning. So I didn't get off until early in the morning. So I got home. I have pets. So I have to feed my pets. I have to let one of them out. And not only that, I had to remember because I was that day I had skipped 2 days of not exercising and things like that. So I want to keep my regimen up to date. So I went and exercised, but it wasn't that long. It was like an hour tops. I did like 30 minutes of sauna, 30 minutes of cardio, got myself in the car, came home, walked my animals, fed my animals, and tried to play with them like, try to give them some time because they're not human, but they are well alive and they need that attention and that love and that support. I don't know where Luna is at. Oh, you sleeping, Luna? Yeah, she's sleeping. But anyhow, I'm not even gonna get her rattled. But yeah, so yeah, I did that, and I took my shower and I went to sleep. Soon as I laid my head on the pillow, it was like no longer than 10 seconds. I get this phone call, and it's from my cousin that I haven't heard from in a long time. And it's like I tell you that when I grew up, for the most part, I grew up around a lot around my cousins. Like, my brothers and sisters are older than me by like the youngest one is 13 years older than me. So most of my cousins and my cousins are like we're like months, sometimes days apart. So, and some of them are older, like my brothers and sisters, but most of them are around my age, and some of them are younger. So I'm like in the middle of the 57. But yeah. So anywho, so I I get a call from my cousin, and this is like I said, I grew up with this cousin. Like it was me, him, and my like a girl cousin and a couple of other ones. Like we literally grew up together like brother and sister. So, and this is on my mom's side. Like my mom's family, like they really stay close to each other. Like it's crazy. It's crazy. Um. So anyhow, I'm answering. I'm like, "Hello, I'm half asleep." He's like, blah blah blah. He's like whining a little. I'm like, what the hell? Like, what is going on? Excuse my language, but I'm like, what is this? So he's like going in and he starts talking about his son who has autism. And we had a discussion about that because he knows I deal like I that's the arena that I work in. Well, one of my jobs I work with people with autism. The rest of them are like mental ill, other kinds of mental illnesses, disorders, drugs, people who had like drug addictions, things like that. So I had already gave. He asked me what was my opinion. I asked him a couple of questions, and then I gave him the knowledge that I knew about referring what I can refer him to. So what I did was just refer him to some professionals that could help him, because I can't do anything. For one, it's a code of ethics, and you don't want to do anything personal. And for two, the assistance that he need, I'm not in that professional scope to do that, and there are certain guidelines that you want to do, and you want to keep that level of integrity and ethics intact when dealing with anyone. I don't give a care if it's family or not. So, um, yeah. So the first time when he called me, he talked about it because he acted like he wanted to keep a conversation, keep me up in a loop, but it was really talking about his son, which is okay too, because that's my little cousin. I'm willing to be open and helping, whatever. Anything that's gonna make him better, then that's cool. Um, and I'm down for that. So I hung up from, but what the advice that I gave him, he turned it down. He turned it down. Not only did he turn it down, he went back to say, well, me and my wife, blah, blah, this, and we're going to do it our way. And I'm like, well, why did you even ask me? I knew nothing about it. And I just stopped and I said, okay. So this is months later. He calls me. Like I said, I was in the bed. And he's like mumbling. He's like going like, almost like, it's weird. It was weird. And he was like, I just want my son to have a happy life. And he's going on. And I'm like, okay, well, what you need to do now, like, did you do what I told you? Like, so what else do you want me to do? Like, I've gave you these referrals to go to, you know, if you haven't taken that step, I don't know what else to tell you other than pray and talk to God. Like, and he's like, oh, I'm going to do that, but in the meantime, I need your help. You need to come back here and talk to my wife about this. And well, and I'm sitting here like, are you freaking serious? I'm not going to do any of that. Like, you didn't listen to me the first time. Why would I take my dumb self? That would be dumb on me. Why would I go back to be scrutinized again? I've given you the resources that I know to the best of my ability to some help, not only professional but spiritual that can help you in that arena and guide you into the direction that you need to go, and you haven't taken those routes. And now you see that what you wanted to do it your way, and now that your way is not working, you want me to not only come and do the same thing that I told you to do, but to do it for you. No, no, that's not how it works. You know, um, and that's what I literally had to tell him. And the next thing that came out of his mouth, which was the first time when I talked to him, the last time out of like years, because he was like, I didn't come and visit him. That was the first discussion that we had, the first conversation. He said, I don't come and visit them anymore. And I'm like, of course, because I live out of town. I don't live in the same city. We don't even live in the same, we still live in the same state, but I live on the other side of the state. We're hours away. So, he's on west, I'm east. So he's like, well, you used to come in and fly and it didn't bother you then. Yeah, it didn't bother me then because I was naive and I didn't understand it. But now I know that I no longer have time to check in on 12,000 people, especially people who are not checking in on me. Like going through this experience gave me an eye opener to step back when I needed to step back. And a lot of people have been calling me now like, oh yeah, you need to come here. And it's like, no, I don't need to come anywhere. This is a mutual thing. I'm not gonna take energy out of myself that I could be working on myself to help and fix you because you're trying to be lazy. Like that's what it boils down to, or just to make you feel good. You're not even welcoming all of me coming there and speaking to you. You're just thinking, oh yeah, well she just coming just to come. This is what she normally does. Not even taking what I'm bringing into the atmosphere, what I'm producing for you. Not even taking it as meat or substance. You're just like whatever and taking it for granted. No, I'm not gonna waste my time like that. God has given me that revelation to step back. So anywho, so he got mad about that, and he's like, it looks like, and I started praying for him. I'm like, because that's the only thing I could do. And I was getting upset, but I was like, God, calm my nerves, like, calm me, because I know you don't want me to be angry in this time, and I know this is a test for me, because it really was more of a wake-up call than anything, because it was like, had I been through this before, I would have been like, okay, well, I need to go because they really need me. They're in this crisis mode. He's in this crisis mode. And it's like, okay, well, how did he get into that crisis mode? Because he didn't take the steps. He was being lazy, and they didn't take the steps and do what they needed to do because it was harder, And we all get into that situation. We all get into those problems and those issues in doing that. Like I do that myself, and I have to catch myself. But it is nobody's responsibility but yours. How the outcome of your life is depicted on you, and people will be so quick to tell you that. My mom told me that, and I had to laugh, and I'm looking like, she's like, well, what you do is your business, and how your life outcome is yours. Don't blame it on me. And I'm sitting here like, part of it actually is based off of what you did because, you put a lot of limitations on me, not only then, but when you like as a growing kid, growing into adulthood, you put those limitations on me. But I had to laugh at that because I'm like, okay, well, if that's the case, then why do you cry when you say you didn't have this and you cry about that with your parents? You didn't put in the work, so that means the truth. Which I totally, like I said, I totally agree with what she said, even though I thought that was hilarious what she said. Like she didn't have a point in that, like she didn't have any contribution in it. But honestly, it is your responsibility to make your life better. And I'm working on that. I'm working on that every single freaking day. And as I'm getting better, people are noticing that. That was another thing that he said. It just looked like you're the only one out of our family that is going about their business and doing their thing. And I was like, what do you mean like that? He was like, well, you never have any problems. And I'm sitting here like, are you freaking serious? The person that was thrown in a trash can, the person that was raped and like virginity was taken before it was even given to them, the person who, I mean, was literally robbed at gunpoint, like who did, I mean, Like, are you serious? Are you freaking serious? The person that had to live back and forth without their parents, the family member that had to get bounced around from house to house. Yeah, I didn't go to a foster home, but I had to go to literally almost every person in my family's house to live with. Not only that, I lived with friends. I lived by myself. As a child, as a teenager. So I'm sitting here like, are you freaking serious? The person who had to walk miles to get to a job when I was living with people, adults, being a kid, having a job, and living in the house with adults and saying, well, I don't know how you gonna get there. Telling me, oh, well, you need a job. Then when you get a job, I don't know how you gonna get there. You better find a way to go get there. That just it bottled me, like not bothered me, it bottled me, okay? And I was just like, are you freaking serious? And I wanted to break it all down and say all the stuff that I was saying that, to you guys now, but it was like the Holy Spirit just caught me, and this had to be the Holy Spirit, okay? Because nothing else wouldn't. I know myself. I would have lit into it. Um, but I was like, you know what? It's not what hits you. It's how you react to things. And the only difference from me and you is that you're looking at it through a tainted glass. You're looking at it from your perspective. So you're seeing the outcomes of the things, the progress that's the end result of what has happened in my life, and you're thinking that everything is always picture perfect when in reality what is really going on is still a battle in my life. Even when you do see that success, it's an ongoing battle. It never ends. It never ends with me. Like literally, it never ends. I wish it did, but I learn more and more and more. Like new levels, new devils. It's always something that is going to be there. It is always something that you're going to have to battle against. It's always going to be something to fight. You do not stop fighting it till you take your last breath. Okay. And people who are very successful, which I've been around, a lot of people who have been successful will tell you that um you do not stop fighting until you take your last breath. It never, 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 ever, 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 ever ends. Okay, so and I told him that, and I was like, I'm gonna ask that God open your eyes to see, because if you see, and that's one of the reasons why I don't do a lot of editing on my page too. With this page, um, I had a comment like, okay, so you worked with NPR and you did all the stuff. Why don't you edit and you do a lot of stuff, background and television? You still do voiceover stuff. Why don't you edit your page and everything? This is a clear example. I'm just showing people who, like I said, I don't want people to think that when you see success coming from someone like me or something like that, that it just happened all of a sudden, because it never happens like that. And secondly, I want people to see the truth. We are so conditioned as a people to see stuff that's really polished and really that looks very majestic, with a lot of pump and stands, and we consider that as success or right when um and you look at it and you seeing, like, when you see all that, it's like, well, I don't have the tools, I don't have that, and it's unattainable, when in reality it comes step by step by step by step, and it's persistence will out I'm telling you, persistence will outwork any talent any day. Persistence persistence okay. Um so yeah, remember that. So I asked God, I was just like, God, please open his eyes so that he can see that the grass is not greener, not just for him to know my story and to open up and say, well, I realize your point, but for him to open his eyes and say that um, anything that I want and that I desire, I can attain through God. If I keep going, and I keep pressing, and not to get bottled up, because when you get to that point, and he was just at his wits end as far as how to go and what to do, because he used his own. And I asked God about that. He used his own strength. We always try to use our own strength into solving problems when we need God in every freaking thing that we do, literally, okay? Because we're not fighting against flesh, and everything that we're going against is dealing with the spiritual realm. Things got a lot, I won't say easier, but it got a lot better and got more understandable when I started taking things on in the spirit versus things physical, seeing actual things, physically. So, the more and the better I got disciplined with the spirit realm, and meaning praying and seeking God and meditating and asking God, what is it, what's behind this, what's going on, and not jumping to conclusions, because looks are definitely deceiving. Looks are deceiving in both ways. If you want to say good or bad, or positive or negative, but on both ends of the spectrum, whatever you want to call it, light, dark, good, bad, whatever, looks are very deceiving. And what might look like is good might not be in the best interest for you. And what might look bad for you might not be so bad. It just might be just a process. It's just a process. It's just a process. So, yeah. So I entitled that this document, um, the grass is the grass looks greener on the other side. Yeah, I think the grass looks greener on the other side, because people get jealous, and that's a form of jealousy in a whole. It's like, well, I can't attain this, and it only happens to you. And this, because when people think that way and say, well, it looks like you going about your business, or you're always soaring. When they say that, it's not just saying that, oh, it looks like you're soaring and you're always doing good. What they You have to listen to what they're not saying. Saying that, when they say that, it's almost like, and I can't do it, because I can't do it and I want to do it. Not That's what they're not they're not saying in that. What you're not hearing, you have to hear what you can't hear. What do you hear from those words? Like, especially when you come out of a part of desperation, and I've been in those shoes, not to knock anyone down or anything like that. I've been in those shoes to feel that way, especially when I felt like I was trapped and I was getting tormented. I mean, tormented. Like, torment in the mind is like crazy, especially when you know something is to be true, and um you're being hindered to tell it, or you're being hindered to do what is right, or what is good, or what you are called to do. That's the worst thing. So, if you didn't have that hindrance, you wouldn't even care. You'll be like, okay, well, good for that person and blah blah this, and you wouldn't want to say, I want to attain it. It's different when you know that it's something inside of you, that is um supposed to be doing that or doing better. It ignites you. So, anywho, yeah, that's what I got from that. And I was just like, okay, I need to get up off this phone, because and the more he started talking, the more he started letting loose, and the more he started letting go, he started talking about, how people were set back, and things like that, and he started telling me how he felt like he was set back. Um, and he didn't want to be. He didn't. At first, he didn't come out and tell me that he felt like he was set back. He was telling me about everybody around him that was set back. So I automatically knew, because I've been through that situation, that he felt like he was set back. And he said he didn't want to go and be like them. And I've been like that. I've been in that situation. He was like, "What do I do?" Like, and I was just like, "Okay." And God had already gave me, like I said, confirmation to that I was gonna be in that position, this position now, and it's gonna be different. I'm still going through some processes, but which we always do. Um, but um, I was able to acknowledge it and be like, okay, now let's see what this is. I need to cut it off, because I started seeing um, the vengefulness when it was like, when I told him, I'm not coming to go and, I guess, save you, because I cannot. I mean, I cannot. You have to go through that process through yourself. Like, these processes that God has us to go through. You can't you can have people to pray for you and intercede for you and that thing, but in reality, you just have to literally go through this process and how you deal with it. Some people lean closer to God, some people turn away from God, some people just do their own. This is your process. You have to do it by yourself, not by your yes, by your with I'm not going to say by yourself, without human hands for the most part. And the more human hands, I will tell you this, the more human hands that you put on through yourself, you know, the more consequences you're going to have. So you have to be careful with who you add into the equation when you're going through these situations. I had to learn that for myself. I had a lot of people who, when I was going through my spiritual transition, a lot of people around me were dead weight. And I'm going to say it just like that because that's what it was. People were dead weight. They were not spiritually in tune in any shape, season, or form. And they just thought, a lot of people thought I was going completely nuts. And I will say this now, since these years have passed, every single one of those people have now came to me, either apologized, well, they all asked for help. They apologized, asked for help, and asked what did I do in this process. Um, and the thing that I always tell them is that I don't know what you believe in, but my thing was getting my relationship closer with God. When I had that anchor, it was something about that shifted me to let me that grounded me. So when I got shooken and when I got knocked down, like just like a boat, when the wind comes and it knocks it over, even if it tips it over, if it has an anchor, it's going to flip up, it's going to buoy up, and it's going to flip over and get back up on itself. And that's exactly what happened to me, you know. And when I started seeing that, and time again, it kept happening, um, and I noticed that I got up, it started letting me know that, for one, because when you get knocked down and you keep getting up and you keep getting knocked down, it will let you know. I'm sorry, my hand is hurting a lot because I'm holding this doggone tablet. So, um, when you get knocked down a couple of times and you get back up, you tend not to focus on what is around you for the most part, especially when you get knocked down the first couple of times. You're like, what is that? You're like, what just knocked me down? That's what you look at. What is it knocking me down? But after a couple of times, after you get knocked down and knocked down and knocked down, knocked down, your main priority is to get yourself back up. No, at any cost. All you're trying to do is get back up. So you don't have time to look around at the sea. You know, the boat doesn't have time to look around. The person who's running the boat don't have time to look around at the sea and say, "Is it a lifeguard here?" And this, no, you got to make sure that boat gets back on its right side. You know, so that's what this journey took me from. So yeah, I always tell people that if um you get closer to God. I had to let go of a lot of those people. Like I said, they came back. Doesn't mean that I've let all of them or even most of them back into my life in that manner, but it shedded a lot of light to say that if you're sinking, you can't be with dead weight because they're gonna push you down. If they're not spiritually inclined and spiritually in tune, then when you go through this, they're gonna look at it through a cardinal view or through a flesh view, which is something that you're already looking at, and they're going to give you a solution that might not be suitable for you. And I was going through that sometimes. Sometimes I was trying these solutions, and I'm like, how is this even happening? People will say, especially with the homeless thing, like, how are you being homeless? You never were in addictions. You still don't have addictions. And it was constant, boom, boom. It was just like fortunes was gone. Things that I should have had power and dominion, they should have been mine to begin with, were just being taken away from me, or I never could enter into that door of having that job or that place, or I'll be given the job and then I come to work and then they say that I've been terminated and they don't even understand why, that kind of thing. So that was the first thing that I tell them that God got closer to Him. The second thing, it was like it was a lot of people that were spiritual who did not have my best interest at hand, And first of all, I'll say this: it was a lot of people that was around me because I used to be around a lot of people, and I like to know wisdom and a lot of things. So you can't be very narrow-minded to have wisdom for the most part because you're learning a lot. But there were a lot of people who were spiritually inclined and didn't have the same beliefs in me. Not only that, but they were spiritually inclined and they didn't have my best welfare at hand. They saw some of these people saw the gifts that I had before I knew that I had the gifts, and yeah, it wasn't a good thing, and that is the worst thing that you can ever do for yourself. Having people who know more about you, who don't have your best interests at hand. Not to say people who don't know more about you. First of all, it's bad not to know yourself. And this process got me to know myself. And when I started knowing more about myself, I found a lot of dislikes, but also through that, I could see other people's journeys and things like that, and I started seeing that the only difference from what I was, what I thought I wanted to be, and what I really wanted to be was that my thinking pattern, saying that it's not attainable. It was just about habits, training myself and getting myself prepared and ready for that, for the elevation. Excuse me, because at first you always think that it's not going to happen to me. Um, or it can't happen to me. It only happens to a certain type of people, and that's not true. Um, it happens to anyone who follows through on those principles and don't turn back and don't turn back. So yeah, so God got me to look at myself and evaluate and say what do I need to leave, what do I need to bring on, what do I need to keep focused on, and what do I need to let go in order to focus on to it. Um, and through that I got better. And not only that, just to be calm and be okay when things are not going what I feel or what I believe it should look like, because success for different is different for every person. You know, success for one person could be, getting $1 million, being a millionaire, blah blah this. Success for another person could be, having a family, being able to provide for them with all their needs, but not necessarily being, a multimillionaire or a multi-billionaire, you know, um, or excuse me, success for somebody else could be being able to travel and to take lots of vacations, anytime that they want and making their own schedule. So success is different. Um, but anywho, that is my taking on the grass is not greener on the other side. It's all about the lens. It's all about based off of what you believe and what you feel in yourself. And that revelation doesn't mean that I'm saying that I'm not going to talk to my relatives again or anything like that, because that's definitely not the truth. But it gave me a revelation of, for one, how they feel about me, because they really do believe that I'm successful, and they believe that I guess it happens overnight. But it also gives me grounded because I know the truth. I know the truth. So, I'm sure someone else has went through this or is going through this, and you're like, why are they not, supporting me, or why are they doing this? The reason why they're not supporting you is because, for the most part, they're going through their own obstacles, and they can't. Hurt people can't help anyone. Okay, I will tell you this: coming from a hurt person and overcoming hurt. I'm understanding that. You know, um, hurt people can only hurt people. That's it. Hurt people, hurt people. So, um, for your sanity, for your sake, you have to distance yourself, give them time to heal, because most of the time when they go through this stuff, and if they properly heal, they'll be able, and they will thank you. They will thank you for stepping back. You're gonna feel like it's hurtful now because now they're mad and you're not doing what they've told you to do. But when people go through their processes and they put in the work, I promise you they will be so, so, so much happier. Because they're gonna get a newfound respect. They're gonna see things in themselves that they never knew existed. Because no one's holding them as a crutch. I didn't understand that either until when I was dealing with, the death of my grandmother, and I was just like, she would tell us, okay, I've lived my life. Now it's time for y'all to do what y'all needed to do. But it was like, especially with the grandchildren, the adults, they were more like whatever, gone. But the grandchildren, we were like, and this is on my mother's side, because my grandparents on my father's side, both of them are still living. But on my mother's side, they're both gone. And we would still be like, no matter what, we would rush. If something was to happen to my grandmother, or she even said that she needed anything, which she rarely ever said anything about what she needed. She's like, I'm okay, blah, blah, this. If we felt like she needed something, everybody would drop at the drop of a hat and rush over there and do. It was just like that. It was that love and everything. But she would say, no, y'all need to, don't look at me, blah, blah, this is going to be, I don't want you to use me as a crutch. But when she died, I started noticing that some of us, even myself, wasn't developed. Even though people say, "Oh, Belle was so advanced and blah blah this," I was not developed to the point that I needed to be because um, using her as a crutch. Not to say that she volunteered herself as a crutch, but using her as a crutch. We don't know how we use other people and family members, as that instead of um, doing the work for ourselves or pushing a little bit harder. So, yeah, if you see someone like that, it might be the hardest thing is to let go. The hardest thing, I would say that the hardest thing is to let go. But like I said, if they're strong enough and you believe they're strong enough and they have it in them, because most people really do have that in them. Just let them go and they'll be able to do it. And then not only that, they can give glory to who really gave them the power and the strength to do that, which is the Creator. Because we're all vessels, we don't have that power to go and just give to other people just like that all the time. But God really does. And like I said, during these situations, it tests your faith. It pushes you to another level of growth, another dimension too. So yeah, this is 38 minutes long, so I'm gonna get off of here. Hopefully, something I said or done will help you on your journey. Please stay tuned to Journey to Jerusalem, and thank you so much.